On September 21st, I used this image for the daily mission in order to tell you to make a playlist. This is a mock-up. And I mentioned in that video that I cropped this using the rule of thirds. And a rule of thirds crop is kind of a multi-purpose tutorial because it teaches you so many different things. I stressed early on that Photoshop depends entirely upon image size and resolution. Here, image size is the most important. How many pixels are there on the screen for us to work with? And so image size, Option Command I, you need to learn that because I'm not going up to this menu the rest of my life. I just want to hit Option Command I and bring up the image size dialog box, which for you probably opens smaller somewhere else. And I'm just going to click on that green button because I want to see my whole image. I want to know what's going on. And the most important thing I want to know, this is the widest image, the widest dimension. That's what I want to know. It's 4,000 pixels. Great. We've been talking about 1920. I work on a 5K monitor, so I want to, because I made this a desktop picture, remember, switch over to the Finder really quick and hide everything. We'll throw away that video. And I put this guy on a third. And you notice this doesn't look nearly as bright as this thing here. So I'm working at 2560, which is just a step up from 1920. So I'll show you that at the end. But for right now, this tells me I've got plenty of pixels to work with because I'm going to get rid of some of the pixels on the right-hand side, and we got 4,000 pixels here to work with, so I hit Escape to get out of that. So I want to crop this image. The crop tool is the letter C is the shortcut. It's right here. And you can see the little preview there. So if I just hit the letter C, I get the crop tool. And by default, the crop tool starts you out by selecting the entire image. And then you typically grab these handles. But how do you know where you have, I want the dimensions for my desktop. I want 16 by 9. So right here, here's the crop tool. And it says ratio. And if you don't have this bar here, come on, guys. Window and options right here. In Illustrator, these are up top. In Photoshop, they're down on the bottom. I wish the teams would talk to each other, but that's life. So I'm going to click on this ratio here, and there's all kinds of ratios. You know, 1:1. I want an Instagram. I want to make a square image. Well, that's great. But notice down at the bottom, 16 by 9 sitting there. And you can save out all kinds of presets. This, if I would have started out large, would have reset to 16 by 9 on the whole width of this, you know, it'd be out here somewhere. But we're going to come in, and then you click in the center, and then you can drag your image around and move things. I want to bring this guy onto that line. And this is a third. And these are natural focal points. You may have seen this little tic-tac-toe on the back of your camera sometimes. This helps you compose your picture. If you're taking a picture outside and you can see the horizon line, you know, there's sky, there's ground. If the sky's really interesting, put the ground on the bottom third. If the ground is interesting and the sky is boring, put the horizon line right there on the bottom third. So this helps you compose. And then your subject, you know, sometimes you put them dead center. Most of the times you put them dead center. Why not make it interesting? You want to have, if you put them on one side, you want visual interest on the other. I've got parked cars over here. So I don't want to put this guy on this third because then it looks really weird. So this composition is kind of easy to set up. And, you know, I could take more time and get this just right. But if I hit return at this point, and notice we have a crop preview over here, all our layers disappeared. They're still there. So I'm going to hit return. And remember, because we downloaded this off the internet and it was free for Mockup World, we still have the zip file. So we're not destroying the original. We still can open up that zip file and get a brand new original. So this is the beginning of our journey to learn how to use the rule of thirds crop to start, because you don't want to do all of your enhancement and all of your work before you crop, because then you're dealing with all these extraneous pixels that don't have anything to do with your final image. Okay, last thing, how big is this image? Option Command I. Because we started out with 4,000 pixels, notice we're at 2802, which is great. I've been telling you 1920 by 1080. We're moving up a step. If I make this, I'm going to change this to 2560, but I want to make sure resample is on, and I want my resample to be preserve details 2.0. If you have something else set, change this to preserve details 2.0. And I'm not sure about this setting, but I have found that this works well. I've not seen this on the internet. I don't know what the pros have come up with, but that's where I ended up with. So I'm going to change this top one to 2560, and the width is going to change to 1440. Sometimes these will be a pixel off, and we'll talk about how to fix that later. But for right now, click OK, and now we have a mock-up that is the right size, 2560 by 1440, that I can use on my desktop, and coincidentally, you can use on your desktop on your iMacs at school. You have a different resolution than mine, but this or anything like it that you crop with the rule of thirds will be composed better. Well, it will be composed differently, excuse me, than the original. But I want you to learn the rule of thirds, so this is something to practice. And when you put it in your mission log, mention the rule of thirds. Show me, reinforce that you understand this, and remind yourself about it. And when you take photographs, start using that tic-tac-toe in order to compose your pictures and make more interesting photographs.